Oh, we got a scorcher for you today on Orange and Blue today. It's Cecil, Lammey, and Andrew Mason talking about a quarterback that might be the best option for the Broncos. His name is Sam Darnold. People may not agree with that, Mace, but we're here to change hearts and minds.
You're probably just giving some of our viewers the hives talking about Sam Darnold.
Right.
Because,
I get it.
Yeah, people are... I see that Larry David gif, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was like, yeah, I get that is the collective reaction. I will say this in defense of Sam Darnold. A couple of things. First of all, the tools are still there. He always had terrific raw tools. We alluded yesterday to Bo Nix being a little bit slow to make the decision to take off and run, and that got him in trouble in Senior Bowl practices when coverage was tight. Well, Sam Darnold will take off and make some plays with his legs, and he will be decisive there.
He's done that against the Broncos.
You all remember the 2020 game against the Jets in an empty MetLife Stadium where he sees it opening wide open, intermediate underneath. He takes off. He doesn't stop until he gets to the end zone. Right. By the way, Sam Darnold, to his credit, I mean, the Broncos aren't a very good team. That's true. He's played against the Broncos 3 times, and he's had 3 really good games.
Yeah, he's looked good. Darnold
2 with
has
the Jets,
tools.
1 with Carolina.
Yeah, he has the tools, and I know it's a different front office now, Mace, but we talked on Valentine's Day about, going back to your former girlfriend or whatever. Well, John Elway loved him, and we could say that about Justin Herbert as well. Okay, and again, John doesn't have anything to do with anything now, but it's like, what did George Payton think of Sam Darnold? What did Sean Peyton think of Sam Darnold coming out? These are things to maybe investigate.
And let's talk about the history of Sean Peyton. Because we go all the way back to when he joined the New York Giants staff, and they had a reclamation project, number 5 overall pick in 1995 by the name of Kerry Collins, who did some good things early with the Panthers, struggled with alcoholism, ended up being cut by the Panthers, lashed out with New Orleans briefly, didn't stick there, comes in with the Giants, and a guy that people had left on the scrap heap within a year and a half of starting under Sean Payton's tutelage when Sean was an assistant under Jim Fossil. Kerry Collins has the Giants in the Super Bowl.
And what did Kerry Collins have? He had tools.
Yes, he had tools. Drew Brees had a different set of tools. But remember, the Chargers thought so little of him, they said, okay, we're going to draft Phillip Rivers, right? And when Drew Brees hit free agency, he was a second-round pick, but I think he was number 32 overall, so that would be first-rounder today.
Right.
Because that was a 31-team league at the time. So Drew Brees had ups and downs with the Chargers, and oh, by the way, had torn labrum. And Sean Payton signed him for New Orleans. Great things happened. Later on, you see him bring in some reclamation projects as backups. Teddy Bridgewater, for example, who ends up starting for Drew Brees, playing the best football of his career. That stint for Teddy Bridgewater in New Orleans really bought him 2 more years as an NFL starting quarterback, first with Carolina, then with Denver. A year after that, Jameis Winston, after the infamous 30 for 30 season, 30-plus touchdowns, 30 interceptions in Tampa Bay, goes to New Orleans, spends a year learning under Drew Brees, comes out in 2021, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks before he tears his ACL.
Yeah.
Number 1 overall pick. Teddy Bridgewater, first-round pick. So you see a pattern here. Pretty high drafted quarterbacks getting second chances with Sean Payton and getting results.
Well, not
and Sam
everyone.
Darnold certainly fits into that category.
Well, I would say not everyone, because my mind goes to like Brandon Whedon or something like that. But when a guy is taken in the first round, even the bus like Paxton Lynch, you know what they have? Tools. So if they have first round tools, maybe they have a 10-cent head, right? And love to play video games or whatever. I don't know who I'm talking about. But if they've got the tools, Sean Payton's like the handyman, right? Snap-on guy. He wants to work with those tools.
And Sam Darnold is really interesting because, of course, after being in Carolina, he signs with the 49ers last year. And he spends the entire season as a backup to Brock Purdy, starts 1 game late in the season. It was an education for Sam Darnold. And so last week at the Super Bowl, it's a chance for me to talk with Sam Darnold and ask him specifically kind of what he learned, what he got out of this year with the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think just the way I view defenses and really just scheme in general, offensive scheme, the way that Kyle talks about it, the way that Coach Griese talks about it, the Kubiaks, really everyone, all the coaches, they do a really great job of explaining defenses, explaining our offense, and what plays go with which coverages and when we got to get to check down. So it's really, I've learned a ton this year. And
what he did was he learned. He learned through the process and learning with some of the best offensive minds that we have in football, including Kyle Shanahan.
And learning in a scheme where if you can flourish there, you're probably going to succeed with Sean Peyton as well.
Yes, run the system.
San
Francisco's all about running the system.
Hit your marks, rhythm, and timing.
Sounds like who?
Yeah. Sean Peyton. They get there in different ways. They have different nomenclature, but there's a lot of common DNA. It's one of the reasons why we were talking about Jake Browning earlier this week, because even though I think the Bengals are going to stand pat and hang on to him, if you can do that in Zach Taylor's iteration of the Shanahan-McVay offense, of course, Zach Taylor worked under Sean McVay with the Los Angeles Rams, then you're going to have a really good chance of doing that with Sean Peyton. You know, just if you, again, listen to the coach and hit your marks.
Well, in NFL fans' opinions on Sam Darnold may be one thing, and they're probably pretty low, Mace. But I will still go back to the report I had that got me on Pat McAfee's show when, before Zach Wilson's pro day, the 49ers were going to give up their first-round pick to get Sam Darnold. But the Jets wanted to wait until Zach Wilson's pro day to see what his shoulder looked like. And the 49ers didn't want to wait, and they ended up moving up for Trey Lance. How did that go? We've actually had some Trey Lance suggestions in our comment section. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video.
By the way, I saw a bunch of Trey Lance jerseys around Las Vegas last week.
Interesting.
It was funny. Like,
okay,
it hit me because I was walking along the strip Saturday night, and there, like in short succession, there were 3 Trey Lance jerseys, like all kind of walking by each other, different
family
groups of people. No, they were different groups of people because, you know, in the morass of humanity, ambling along the strip on a Saturday night, bunch of Trey Lance jerseys.
Well, my point about the Trey
jersey,
Lance,
I guess you don't want to throw it away.
I guess so. You
I mean,
paid a lot of money
how much
for
you
it.
pay for those jerseys? You want
you want to make sure you hit on it. That's why you buy a retired player jersey.
Yes, buy a Champ Bailey or Peyton Manning or John Elway.
Right.
You know, buy a Bronco legend.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't think too hard about
and
this.
Buy into first round tools and also the NFL opinions. Now, again, Mace, the NFL can be wrong about guys. Hell, they're wrong on a lot of guys.
They're wrong about Brock Purdy.
But the NFL opinions on Sam Darnold are quite high, not just in San Francisco, but other executives, guys you and I talk to in the scouting community, other media members that do what we do. The opinions on Sam Darnold from football guys are different from some NFL fans.
And don't forget this. You know, we talked about J.J. McCarthy earlier this week, right?
Yes.
One of the things on J.J. McCarthy is, he's 21 years old, right? Sam Darnold, when he got drafted, was 20 and then turned 21 during his first round of OTAs with the New York Jets. So that's why we're sitting here today with Sam Darnold. He's 26 years old.
Holy cow.
It seems like he's been around forever.
That's younger than Pat Mahomes, right? Because Mahomes is 28, I believe.
Sam Darnold's 26 years old.
Wow.
Born June 5th, 1997.
We can make you get behind the Sam Darnold signing if the Broncos were to do it. We can sell that to you.
Are you okay with it without a quarterback being drafted? See, that's the question. I want another
Darnold
option
and
in
Stidham
there.
isn't as exciting as Darnold and even Michael Pratt.
Darnold and Michael Pratt.
I like that.
I could be okay with that. I think Darnold and McCarthy I like better.
That's the best.
Darnold and Michael Pratt, I'm okay. I'm not sure that's going to get a lot of people on the hillside for a training camp, although it's not the hillside because they're going to start construction on the new building over at Century Health Training Center.
The bleachers.
I could be really intrigued by Darnold and Spencer Rattler, to mention a name we talked about yesterday, who you're going to hear more about.
Yeah. Have a plan.
I'll admit I was watching some Spencer Rattler a couple of nights ago, some of his work, some of his footage. and then processing that with what we saw in terms of the day-to-day growth in Mobile. Like, you bugged out before the last practice. I stayed for the last practice.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that was Rattler's best day. And when I see that kind of incline, okay, I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, but that's the whole Josh Allen thing, right?
Right.
Anyway, so back to Sam Darnold for a moment, though.
And NFL opinions on Sam Darnold. You got a Brian Griese clip we're going to play in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But like NFL opinions, guys in the league like Sam Darnold. You may not like him. I'm here to tell you, guys in the league like him.
Brian Griese, quarterback coach of the 49ers, also former Broncos quarterback, 1998 through 2002, starter for 4 of those years. Brian Griese thinks very highly of Sam Darnold. They were happy when they got him in. And understand this with the 49ers. When they signed Sam Darnold, they did not know if Brock Purdy was going to be ready for the 2023 season because he was coming off of elbow injury. Right. And so Sam Darnold was thought to be, okay, he may have to start. He may have to play out this season if Purdy is not ready. And they were very comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
And even when Purdy went through training camp and was going to be the week 1 starter, they were still comfortable enough with Sam Darnold to say, Trey Lance, or former number one first round pick, number 3 overall, bye-bye, shipped him off to Dallas and just kept Darnold and Brandon Allen, old friend, around.
There you go.
I don't think there's a lot of confidence in Brandon Allen.
No.
But there was a lot of confidence that the 49ers had in Sam Darnold, to the point where I think there was a belief around San Francisco that if Darnold had to go out there, they could have had the same type of season they ended up having.
I could make the argument that they might have won the Super Bowl if Sam Darnold had played.
Woo! That's spicy.
It is spicy, but that's what Darnold is. Darnold wouldn't avoid some of those big moment throws where Brock Purdy would. And that's just what Purdy is. It's not saying, I think people are way too down on Brock Purdy now, but we know people in San Francisco that have told us the most talented passer that Kyle Shanahan has ever worked with is Sam Darnold.
Here's the thing. He's also not the most accurate because, and this is the critique of Sam Darnold, career completion percentage below the 60% threshold, 59.7.
Some guy named Matthew Stafford used to be down there too.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about fit. And the reason why Darnold's accuracy is down,
because he throws it downfield.
Exactly. Because he's aggressive.
Because he's got some arm talent. And oh, by the way, arm talent with a good receiver. Remember those passes that he had to DJ Moore?
Right.
When he was playing for Carolina against the Broncos back in 2022?
Yep.
Yeah. He can get it all over the field. We alluded to Brian Griese talking about Sam Darnold. Here's what Brian had to say when I asked him about Sam Darnold's progress last week on Super Bowl Media Night.
And then Sam has checked his ego at the door. Sam's an outstanding player. He's got a lot of talent and is going to play really good football in this league. And Sam came to us and wanted to come and learn our offense and get some stability and foundation under his feet because he hadn't had a lot of stability under his feet. And I think that's what we talked about when he came here, and I think that's what he's gotten. And he's continued to work. When he's had his opportunities, gone and played well for us. And who knows what his opportunities are going to be going forward, but I think he's a better football player.
Listen to that, Mace. He came to us.
He wanted an education. Like, basically, he was going back to school.
Yeah.
That takes some humility because
maturity.
Yeah, humility, maturity, all that, to accept that. And also, again, there was a shot that he could have been their starter. And I think that probably had something to do with it as well, that if Brock Purdy wasn't healthy, there was a chance for him to start. It didn't work out, but he handled that role. The first year in which he'd really been a backup that much, like he started 6 games in Carolina in 2022 once they moved off of Baker Mayfield. And as we saw, played really well down the stretch. That was the best football of his career.
Right.
But in every other season started at least 11 games, 11 starts in Carolina in 21, 12 starts for the Jets in 2013 and 19, 13 and 18. Of course, that leads to another thing is that Sam Darnold has dealt with some injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And that contributes to some of those early career seasons where he missed some time. And that helped derail his process. And of course, Brian Griese talked about stability. What do the New York Jets and Carolina Panthers not offer in any way, shape, or form?
Mm-hmm.
Stability.
Right.
And you may say, oh, well, the Broncos, I mean, they've had 7 straight losing seasons. I mean, it seems to be a franchise in chaos. But Sean Peyton has basically, you could say he's consolidated his power at Sanctuary Health Training Center.
Right.
It's clear who's in charge. It's clear whose vision is running the show. And oh, by the way, in a year in which he said they just started laying the foundation, they haven't even got the pilings in. They went from 5 to 8 wins, pulled off stunners over teams like Kansas City, Buffalo. Hey, at one point, by that 5-game winning streak, they beat 4 playoff-bound teams.
Right.
So there are some reasons to believe that this could be a scenario that maybe nudges the Broncos a little bit forward. I'm still not sure Sam Darnold is the long-term answer, but I think at the very least he can be a very stable bridge. And then to go back to the whole thing of Sean Peyton, whether it's a reclamation project or a guy like Tony Romo who's undrafted, developing a quarterback who comes from the territory where your odds are less of finding that guy, but you have to put in more time. Sam Darnold, I think, would be good enough to give you that time.
Darnold,
assuming he stays healthy,
afford you the time, and he'd get you some good play. He'd run the system. But Mace, you just said the magic word, because what is everyone asking this offseason? They're asking, who's the next Baker Mayfield? You just said Baker and Darnold on the same team. So for people that rolled their eyes, oh, Baker Mayfield, why would you want him? Panthers got rid of him. He did just one game with the Rams. It was against Denver. We all remember that. But it's like, okay, who's your next Baker Mayfield? It might be the guy he was teammates with in Carolina. It might be Sam Darnold.
The guy who actually ended up playing in lieu of Mayfield and playing better.
Yes.
Of course, then Baker went to Los Angeles, and they got him right.
Yeah. Did San Francisco do the same thing that Los Angeles did for Baker?
If there's a difference here, it's that Baker Mayfield did have playoff success under his belt in Cleveland, and that was a level Sam Darnold didn't get to. You can say, okay, how much did environment matter? Because the Jets, that was when I think the first, it was Todd Bowles and then it was Adam Gase, right?
Yeah. Train wreck time.
Well, Todd Bowles has proven to be an all right coach. We saw that in Tampa Bay this past year. Adam Gase, although I think very highly of him personally, very nice to me when he was working on the Broncos staff. That was a disaster with the New York Jets in the 19 and 20 seasons. And then you go to Carolina, which is a top-down disaster. By the way, I can even say the same thing for Woody Johnson owning the Jets. By the way, Woody Johnson, what a name.
Ownership matters.
Ownership matters. The Jets and Panthers are evidence of that.
Yes.
And I think in time, you're going to see what quality ownership is going to do for the Broncos going forward.
Yes.
We've seen it in the areas that haven't yet translated to the field, right? Little things like
replacing the turf when they really didn't need to.
The grass, or looking out at the field in December of 22 at halftime and seeing the cheerleaders in their Christmas outfits, but they're red, and saying, why on earth are the cheerleaders wearing Chiefs colors, Cardinals colors? Because that's the teams they played in December at home.
Right.
And a year later, at the holiday time, they're wearing orange holiday-themed uniforms. This is what I mean when I say, like, no detail escapes their eye. It's one of the most impressive things about the Broncos' new ownership. And that's why I think eventually you're going to get it right. And so when Sam Darnold talks about stability, it's the kind of thing the Broncos can offer in spite of their recent poor run of form over the last 7 years. There are indications that things are headed in the right direction. It's just probably not as fast as Broncos country wants. But it's the kind of thing that you may look at Sam Darnold and say, if he's a Bronco, is he your comeback player of the year?
Yeah, possibly. Mace, would you like some, not for you, but for our audience, would you like me to dole out some life advice?
Yes, please do.
Don't look in the rearview mirror. You're not going that way. I get when people say, like, oh, the past has been so bad and all these mistakes. Walton Penner Group is here. Greg Penner is here to set this team right. Sean Peyton is here to set this team right. So look forward. Don't look back. We understand what happened in the past, but that is done. What matters is today and moving forward, making those proper decisions.
Learn from the past, but don't dwell on it. That's the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget it. That's the thing. Don't forget the past, but walk that fine line of learning from it, but not being absorbed by it. And that's the thing you have to do going forward, I think. Look, you're going to go out to training camp this summer, and you're going to see the foundation being laid for a new building there. It's the reality of construction. It's also a pretty apt metaphor, I think,
Under
for this
construction.
franchise. And under construction means you got to accept, that even if you're wearing a hard hat, you might get hit from time to time. It happens, right?
So grab your hard hat.
Yeah, grab your hard hat, grab your tool belt, and what can you do to help the construction? Just be supportive, even though I know it's hard to do after 7 straight losing seasons. I get the loss of patience. Grow up in Tampa, I understand this.
You said tool belt. That leads us back to Sam Darnold, the guy with the tools.
That's what we call serendipitous. It's a circle.
It is the circle of life.
You're in our circle of trust.
Yes, we're in the trust
tree
right now.
Trust tree?
I thought we were in the trust tree. Maybe. I don't know. I just wonder these things sometimes.
We went to Red Lobster, which was lovely.
Right. We can only do so many of those quotes. He's Joey. He often wonders why us two old guys quote movies. But anyway, he's our producer. We appreciate him
but
very
at least
much.
we're keeping it in the 21st century there with old school. I mean, we're not sitting here quoting Fletch, which is, a 39-year-old movie.
Right. Exactly. We will later, though.
Try to teach the kids about Fletch.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's YouTube, so help us out.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Hey! Boom, we got it.
Had to slow it down, but we got it. He's
Slow
Mace.
jam.
I'm C.
Slow jam on a Thursday here.
Some jock jams coming up later. Joey, look it up. Anyway, he's Mace. I'm C. OBT's a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.